Tensions in the Caribbean are heating up once again, bringing Washington and Caracas face to face in one of their sharpest confrontations in recent years. What began as disagreements over maritime patrols and drug enforcement is now spiraling into a test of power and survival. The fragile situation has raised alarms across Latin America, with many fearing that even a single mistake at sea could trigger a wider conflict between Venezuela and the United States. The dispute intensified after U.S. naval forces intercepted several small boats in international waters. Reuters reported that one of these operations ended violently when a vessel was destroyed, killing 3 on board. President Donald Trump hailed the strike as a victory against what he called narco-terrorists, vowing that his administration would never allow traffickers to threaten American borders. Yet Venezuelan officials dismissed the American account as fabricated, accusing Washington of carrying out what they described as a blatant act of aggression. Caracas's reaction was swift and uncompromising. President Nicolas Maduro condemned the attack as an assault on Venezuela's sovereignty and accused the U.S. of using the drug war narrative as a cover for destabilization. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez echoed this stance, warning that Venezuela would not tolerate any attempt to drag the region into open conflict. "We will not permit foreign powers to bring war to our shores," he declared, framing the clash as part of a broader U.S. campaign for regime change. Venezuelan leaders argue that the naval operations amount to an undeclared war. According to Al Jazeera, senior officials believe Washington is deliberately escalating tensions to weaken the state from within. The strategy, they claim, mirrors earlier U.S. interventions in Latin America, where accusations of narco-trafficking or corruption were used to justify pressure on governments seen as hostile to U.S. interests. In Caracas's view, this is less about drugs and more about power. Despite the gap in overall military strength, Venezuela is not without its defenses. For years, the government has invested in advanced Russian and Chinese weaponry, including Sukhoi Su-30 fighter jets, S-300 air defense batteries, and long-range radar systems. BBC News has noted that these assets, while not on par with the full might of the Pentagon, could still complicate any American military action close to Venezuelan territory. Their presence makes the Caribbean waters far more contested than Washington may admit. To reinforce this message, Venezuela recently held military exercises that showcased its arsenal. Local media reported that anti-ship missiles were test-fired from La Orquilla Island under Maduro's direct supervision. The president used the event to send a defiant signal, insisting that not 1 inch of Venezuelan soil will be surrendered. Reuters analysts warned that these drills, combined with the deployment of advanced missiles, increased the risks of miscalculation for U.S. naval patrols operating nearby. For Caracas, military readiness is not just about defense, but also political survival. Years of heavy sanctions have crippled the oil-based economy and left the government isolated on the world stage. By projecting military strength, Maduro hopes to rally domestic support while showing the international community that Venezuela cannot be pressured into submission without consequences. Analysts at Brookings argue that this dual strategy, resistance abroad and mobilization at home, has been central to Maduro's hold on power. The Venezuelan government has also taken its grievances to global institutions. Attorney General Tarek William Saab accused Washington at the United Nations of committing crimes against humanity by using lethal force against civilian boats. He argued that these were not genuine anti-narcotics missions, but provocations designed to spark a larger war. The rhetoric underscores Caracas's determination to cast the U.S. as the aggressor before the world stage. Foreign Minister Yvonne Gill reinforced this argument at the UN Security Council, warning that Washington's actions pose a direct threat to regional peace. France 24 quoted him as urging member states to resist unilateral measures that erode international law. By internationalizing the dispute, Venezuela aims to shift the global narrative, presenting itself as a victim of U.S. power projection rather than a pariah state accused of harboring traffickers and criminals. Meanwhile,